Welcome to San Mateo County Today. Conversations with government leaders throughout San Mateo County. Here's your host, Marshall Wilson.
Welcome to San Mateo County Today, on the road in Burlingame with Burlingame Councilwoman Donna Colson. Donna, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Let's jump into something that is dear to everyone, their money. Burlingame voters recently approved a quarter-cent sales tax. Where's that money going to go and what's it going to be used for?
So I like to say that we're going to use it for the 3 Ps, but as you know, it was a general fund tax to start. So the council has to, first of all, meet in January, talk to our citizens, figure out exactly what they want to do with it, and then we'll set up an oversight committee. But what we're hearing from the citizens is the 3 Ps: parks, potholes, and police. So our goal is to try to take their input and see what we can do. So we'll be addressing some of the roads and sidewalk issues. We'll be addressing our aging community center, which is over 70 years old and has a lot of seismic work and things like that. And then we're going to do some work around additional crime prevention.
Now, the county passed a half-cent sales tax, and other cities are passing local taxes.
Yeah.
Do you think why is that becoming so important for the citizens of their own communities to tax themselves for their own local needs and not relying on, I guess, other sources? Why is that becoming such a trend?
Just think about the federal government right now, and even the state of California. I mean, the state of California is trying to figure out their own fiscal problems. You've got the federal government trying to figure out their issues. So to me, if you're going to tax yourself, tax at the local level where you can have oversight and you know exactly where every single dollar is going, you know what it's getting used for, and you have a say in it. And usually there's a citizens oversight committee, which there will be in this, so the citizens can really control it and make sure there is very little waste, and they can target it exactly to the things that they need.
You said you're hearing about the 3 Ps. How has the city gone out and gathered that information?
Yeah, so we met with our city leaders, including some of our council people, as well as our city manager and city staff, conducted over 100 local city meetings with everyone from parent groups, PTAs. They talked to business leaders, the business community, senior citizens, parent groups with like small children or Mothers Club, and we got a lot of input about what everyone wanted to see done with this money. So we felt very confident when we went in that the community was going to support this. Of course, there's always a few people that are just anti-tax, period, right. They don't want it. But overall, we were able to pass it at 64%, so we were really pleased.
I know, again, focusing on money here, but of course that is a big part of what local government does is about money, is pensions. And you've been actively involved in pensions for Burlingame and also at a county level as well. Tell us about that.
So I had my entire career involved in the pension industry and investment industry, and for 10 years I served on the San Mateo County Employees Retirement Association. And I've been very happy with the work the county's done as well as the city of Burlingame. As you know, the pension liability burden that is coming down the road on most cities is going to be extreme. And in our case, over the next 5 years, on the police side, for example, we may end up at 80% of our payroll additionally going to help pay for pensions. So what we're doing in Burlingame is we're taking a really proactive look. We've asked our city staff to go and forecast what our potential contributions are going to be out of our general fund, because every dollar that goes there is a dollar that we can't hire somebody, or we can't pay a raise or do other work for our citizens. So we've looked, we see the bubble, and we've set up a pre-funded savings account to start aggressively putting money aside in these good, robust years so that we can then draw down on it on the years when the pensions are exceeded. Interestingly, Governor Brown also just filed a Supreme Court case yesterday to look into more issues around pensions and try to alleviate and help some of that burden come off of local cities.
Well, in some ways, the pension problem, it seems like it's a self-made problem for cities. Now, these are promises that have been made to employees.
Yes.
And how is it that local governments are now saying this is a huge, or have for several years now, saying this is a huge problem, but the government is the one that made these agreements in the first place?
Yes, it is. And I will tell you that I think, I've been talking about this for probably 10 or 15 years amongst my constituents and friends. And I think what happened was people did not, it was sort of a nuclear arms race of pensions. So the police department in one city gave pension raises. So in order not to lose your police department, you had to match it. So it's sort of this escalating pension race to see who could give the best benefits. And I think that oftentimes it's complicated math. The actuaries no one understood how long people were going to live, all of those complicating factors. And so now and it was also an off-balance sheet financing, essentially. The money was not having to show up that liability as, for example, a bond would on your balance sheet until 2 years ago. So now we are having to show it. And I think all of those problems contributed to sort of hiding this little issue. I think now with the state stepping in with PEPRA and helping out, that has kind of capped it. And now what we're managing is trying to figure out just how to get these paid. And what I tell our employees all the time is your pension is guaranteed by the taxpayers, but your job is not. So we don't want to sacrifice our active workforce in order to pay for all of our pensions.
Another big issue facing the city, of course, is affordable housing and housing in general all over the peninsula and the Bay Area. Now, the City Council earlier this year passed something called commercial linkage fees.
Yes.
What exactly is a commercial linkage fee?
So anytime a commercial developer on the bayfront or downtown goes to build an office building or some type of new construction, we're going to be charging per square foot a fee that is going to go into a separate account that is going to be set aside for affordable housing. We did a nexus study. We determined about what kind of an impact those new jobs coming into the town would have, and we made sure we set some money aside so that we can begin to put a fund together and address some of these issues.
As a city, what can Burlingame do about affordable housing? Because it's such a monumental problem.
It's monumental. Yeah, and we're 52% renters in this town, so it's a really big problem for a lot of our folks. And our median household income is around $85,000. So we do want to make sure that we keep a diverse community going on here. So what we can do is we're looking at first of all, setting up some type of trust fund that we could potentially use to either purchase and rehab older apartment buildings, possibly help landlords with rehabilitation so they can keep rents low. We've also looked at trying to figure out how we might subsidize and help renters, like a kind of almost like a season of sharing fund. So when people do get in trouble, we can pitch in and help out as a community. And then finally, we're also giving away and using our own land, our own parking lots, to build our own affordable housing. And we're hoping to get that ground broken next year in 2018 to build about 135 units of affordable senior and workforce housing.
Well, that's 135 more than we have today.
It's 135 more than we have today. We've also been very successful at asking our developers to put in 10, 15, 20% affordable housing in all their new projects. Summerhill did it. A developer right here on the corner did it for us. So I feel like if we can continue to work with developers to make sure that some component of their housing that they're building, and then the final thing is, I mean, we just have to say yes and basically meet the goals of our downtown plan, our downtown housing plan, and try to build more transit-oriented development when we can and when it makes sense.
I just learned something about Burlingame, that 52% are renters.
Yeah.
That's not something when I think of Burlingame, for some reason, I think of homeowners.
Yeah.
How does that affect the politics of Burlingame? Because that's a different demographic.
It is. It is. It affects it because a lot of the work that we have to do, for example, even going back to the community center, this is where the vast majority of our households, they may not belong to a gym. They're going to use our community center. In the summer, they can't maybe afford daycare, so they're going to put their kids in our summer programs and summer camps. So we need to create a robust set of opportunities for all people in Burlingame, and I think that that's one of the great things this council's been doing, is trying to figure out how to maintain our diverse fabric in our community.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. So you were elected to the City Council in 2015.
Yes.
So here we are in late 2017, so 2 years on the job.
Yeah.
What did you think the job was going to be like when you were running for the office, and what has the reality been for you?
Well, it's interesting. When I was thinking about running, and my kids I had retired, and my kids were saying, you're driving us crazy at home, so you have to do
get another job.
Mom, get another job. And a couple of councilwomen Ann Keegren in particular, Councilwoman Keegren, she was at the time mayor, and I had been working together on a number of projects, and I was a Park and Rec commissioner. And she really encouraged me to run, and I was very resistant, as many women are. Finally decided to say yes. And I think my husband kind of pushed me over the edge. He said, you have trained your entire career and your entire life for this job. You've been in pensions, you've been in affordable housing, you've been in finance, you've worked with city governments, they've been your clients for years. You've coached youth sports in this area. These are your friends and your people. Why don't you do this job? This would fit your skills perfectly. And I thought about it, I decided to do it, and I have to tell you, it's been even better than I thought it would be. I have an amazing set of colleagues, all extremely hardworking, all very bright, all very committed to the city of Burlingame, and we have a fabulous staff here. It's diverse, it includes women, gay, minority people, and I love every single minute of it. So I would say this has been one of the most important and best decisions I've ever made in my life.
That's good to hear, because so often we hear people get in these jobs and sometimes it's like, oh, the bureaucracy, it's impossible, we can't ever get anything done. And I think one of the things you realize when you go into local government, things don't happen overnight.
No.
So what is your vision for Burlingame, and with the sales tax is going to be moving forward?
Yeah.
Where do you see the city going? Is it going to become more congested, more of a part of more look like San Francisco, or how do you retain that small town feel?
Yeah, that's going to be our challenge. It's going to be how to maintain the small town charm and do it in a way that allows for the proper amount of growth. But as I've said before, the thing that makes Burlingame charming is its people. And yes, the homes are charming and the real estate is charming. Our library across the street is charming. Our city hall is not so charming. But
it's functional.
It's functional, not so charming, but functional. And if we can figure out a way to keep the diverse people, the diverse culture, work with our youth sports programs, work with our local schools, work with our local churches, and figure out a way to involve all of the community in the conversation about our future, then I think we're going to end up in a really good course. And it's funny, when I was just working on our comprehensive annual financial report, our CAFR.
That sounds exciting.
One of our most exciting documents, huge, thick document. But what's interesting in there is looking at it, and we have stuff going out to 2024, 2050. I mean, I hope I'm still around in Burlingame and doing fun stuff and being involved, but that's a long time. So we as a city, we have to take a very long-term perspective. And I think it's a hard thing for politicians to do because they're trying to get elected the next term. So I think we're going to have to put, our thinking caps on and really figure out strategically what we want to do, and then tactically what we need to do to get there. And I feel very confident that Burlingame is going to be able to retain its charm and still keep its diversity for the next 20 years.
So we got about a minute left, and it's nice to get Peninsula Television on the road here in Burlingame. So tell me a tidbit or two about its history that makes it special.
Well, our business community is really important. The Broadway, Burlingame area, the Burlingame Ave area, and our Bayfront, which people forget. We're hoping to bring Topgolf in over there and put that in. So our hotels, I think just our diverse business community and the amount of support that they give us, it's just the number of people who are willing to step up and serve on commissions and serve on youth sports organizations, parent groups, PTAs, help the city, makes us really unique. It's very rare that you get a community that is so involved from soup to nuts.
All right, Councilmember Colson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Marcia, for having me.
Today.
It's really a pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks,
and thank you
everyone.
for joining us.